Okay, I'll call the June 11th Sustainability Committee meeting to order. Let's have a roll call vote. So it's Steve Douglas,
Here.
Melissa Gavin,
Here.
Jen Dietering,
Here.
Jen Wankerl, and you might want I'm here.
Oh, I think Jen is joining us now.
There we go. Jen knows she arrived at 6:03. Jen Wankerl is here now. Okay, this is time for public comment. Any member of the public can speak for 3 minutes on any topic. Do we have any public comments? Did you get anything, Carly?
I don't see anything. Nope.
Here. Okay, we are on to general business. Our first item was we have a guest speaker, Village President Jay Langfeld, on the roles and responsibilities of the committee.
All right, well, thank you. I'm not going to take up too much of your time. I want to start off. One is thanking everybody for volunteering to be on this committee. I'm making an effort to stop by all the committees this month and next month to let you know that the board appreciates your work and your commitment to helping the village out. As most of you know, I'm a big backer of committees. I think they play a crucial role in having more citizens understand local government. I think it makes the village more efficient and provides better service to our residents when we have strong committees. I'm not really going to go through the basic roles and responsibilities that's in the ordinances.
Did I just lose audio or did I freeze?
What was that?
It must have been you. I'm okay here for audio.
We got you lost audio.
Oh, all right. We're still good.
I think we're good. Yep.
All right. What I want to do is take the committees up a notch. And what I mean by that, right now, I feel the committees are kind of siloed. You know, I'd like to see more working on similar projects between committees and backing each other up. I think that would be very important. I'll go through some examples of where I think this can work. I do want to fill you in that the newest member of the Finance Committee, her background before she retired was writing grants for a university. So we have someone with the expertise of grant writing, which I think will be a skill set we really could use. She's willing to help all committees on that. So we can do some proactive problem solving, but I think there's some guidelines to that. We just don't want, hey, we should be doing this and then throw that on finance to do all the research and everything like that. So what we'd be looking for, let's say you're looking at our sustainability plan and there's an item you want to accomplish. I would do the background on what it is, what the purpose is, what we can achieve. Even go and say maybe these 3 spots might be a good choice to look for funding. And then that way she can take that and put the grant application together and send it in. I don't want it to be where we overburden her with, or the Finance Committee with doing all the legwork. That still should come out through the committee work. And I think it has worked well for plan and finance that if everybody shares the workload, it's pretty efficient and pretty easy to do. It's not overwhelming, but I don't want more work put on staff or the trustee. I think it's got to be from the committee and everybody working on it together. So a couple examples of where I think we can be across committees that we're working on right now. This next 6 months, we've got some major projects going on. So the first one is Plan Commission is basically started a year ago on redoing the comprehensive plan. That's a 10-year plan. It was divided out, every member took a chapter, updated it, reviewed it. And now we're at the stage where in July, we are going to send out the community survey on it. On the plan, we basically are using the same one we did 10 years ago. So we can have a comparison if things have shifted during that 10-year period. But I would think sustainability, since you guys cross so many areas, you might want to take a look at some of those chapters and add recommendations to that right off the top of my head. You know, transportation, land use, I think would be critical for this committee to look at. So you just take a look at it, and if there's things you think from sustainability, like your plan that you have, let's incorporate that into the comprehensive plan. So that becomes part of it, because I can tell you 10 years ago, there isn't a chapter. If you get really motivated and you want to make it a chapter, if you think that's more appropriate, that is an option out there. I don't have any concerns with that, but I would at least look at it. There's 9 chapters. I'm thinking there's probably 2, 3 that are definitely could be related to sustainability, but it would also be important once we hit the button to send out the survey. I think everybody here, if you can send it out to any of your serve lists that you have to residents, and it could be for something not related to sustainability, but I really want to get the word out, because the more people we get back on that, on the survey, the better. Then we're going to take that survey and we're going to have a number of community inputs. There'll be one for the community to come in and look at things. It'll probably have, we're thinking of a number of stations, land use, and some of the other things to just get people's input that way, probably more detailed on it. And then we'll have stakeholder groups that will actually interview more detailed than just having a community forum. So if there's stakeholders you think are important to be included in these interview process, that's something you should compile and send it to plan, and then we'll take it from there. So that's one of the big projects coming up that I think is going to go across all the committees. The other one, you all are aware of the village hall and police station. We hopefully will have construction documents by the end of August. But I still haven't seen much progress. I'd like to try to get grants for that. We've put in, through Parks and Rec, we put in a $200,000 grant for the trailhead that we want to build next to it in the outside. The restrooms are accessible from the outside, but I would think this group could clearly give us a hand in looking for solar. We are right now scheduled to have solar on the roof. So it'd be nice if we could get some funding from that. I don't know if the federal funding is going to be around by the time we build. But I know Dane County still has an interest. I know there's nonprofits or foundations that are very much still in. So again, I'm not asking for this group necessarily to write it, but if you can identify spots and find out, give us the information that they would need, we can try to put that together. That's one of the other ones. And then the third one that is up, and I don't know if it hits this, but you should be just aware of it. Finance is doing an analysis of the EMS service, and we're not looking at the delivery of service. That is not on the board, and we're totally fine. We're looking more at the structure of it, the administration of it. That's what we are focusing on. So, I don't know, you've probably heard some things in the community, but again, we will keep all committees abreast on where we're at with that. We're looking to bring Finance will hopefully have a final version July 2nd, then we'll bring it to the board, and that has 3 phases. The first phase is this report, which has an incredible amount of data in it. And then we'll do phase 2, which will be the community input, town board input, EMS staff input, just a lot of input feedback on the report. And then phase 3 will be the board taking their time of looking this all over, having discussions and making a decision. So those are the 3 big things going on. I think it's a little early. You've probably heard of the development that's being proposed. That's in the very early stages. The one stage, phase 1 and phase 2 is probably, they're looking to hopefully get that to plan and board in July, and that would be the first 100 houses that would be located basically to the east of the middle school. The hurdles that they have is obviously the water and expanding the service area. The part that they're working on now is already in our service area. To do the rest of it, they would have to get CARC. So I don't know if there's a lot from sustainability, but I'll let you guys decide that. But that would be the 4th big project that we're doing. And all of this, a decision, major decisions on all of these will be made in the next 6 months. So more community input, the better. The more committees working on it, the better. That's how I look at it. That's all I have, unless anybody has any questions.
Jay, can you, I want to go back to the comprehensive plan. You said there's a survey that's happening in July. Did you say there's a community forum and then stakeholder groups? Those are the 3 input strategies, or just
Yeah,
2?
those are the 3, but they won't all happen at the same time. What it's laid out is survey first, and then we'll collect who we want at the stakeholders. And last time we did that, what they did is they interviewed stakeholders kind of during the day and then did the community forum in the evening. So it was all
Okay.
in one day.
Okay, thanks. That's helpful. And then another clarifying question, the new development, how, for this phase 1, how many homes are proposed? Did you say 100?
Yeah, so I think it's if I remember, it's 128 units, but some of them are duplexes, so I'm not sure if they're counting those
Yeah.
twice or not.
Okay,
But right now, it's tentatively, they're looking to bring the preliminary plat to the plan commission July 7th. So in the packet, you'd be able to see at least their phase 1. Everything else should be outlots.
Yep.
okay. And is that the golf course as well, or is that,
That comes later.
Well, that's the long-term plan, that they would like to put a golf course up there, correct? That's the development we're talking about, that has a golf course included with it, yes.
great, thanks.
Yeah. All righty, you guys have a good meeting.
All right.
Thanks,
Jay.
Jay.
Thank you.
Okay, we're on to number 2, committee member report outs and updates. And you want to speak to
Sure.
you had something, right?
Yeah, I do have something. So, in the vein of applying for grants and things like that, so Dane County has some funding available through their like EV Charge Up Dane County grant. And so what they're looking for is some host sites for some EV chargers. So they'd be level 2 chargers. And so they're looking for, so it'd be 4 chargers that would be provided. They would pay entirely for the installation and the equipment itself. And then, so they basically would work to make the fees associated with it that would kind of offset the cost of electricity, because that would be the one thing that the village would be responsible for, would be the electricity cost. So they're hoping that like the host sites that are, or the host sites that are chosen, it would be like a zero, they break even, no cost kind of a thing. And so what I'm going to be applying for is for those chargers, those level 2 chargers, to be near the Esser apartments. So like PJ's and Vessel, that's a parking lot that is owned by the village. And they do use it. It had to be used for like the parking counts that were necessary for that development. But that is our lot. And so that is what I'm proposing we use those for, just on conversations I've had with staff and folks. So if anybody has any suggestions on an alternative place, I know the pig already has some. I don't know what the usage is. Those are level 1. Okay. So these are level 2. So yeah, I'd love to know if anybody has a different place in mind. I'd be happy to consider that as well.
So this is free for the public to use, or they have to still like swipe and?
They would have to pay. And so they would set, so the county would set, they want them to be affordable. So they don't want them to be, so like for 5 years, they would set the cost of those chargers. And like I said, they're trying to offset the electricity. So they're trying to make it, as much of a win-win for everyone as possible. So that would be what it would be. It would be like a 5-year commitment that we'd go along with their cost structure. And then we would have the opportunity to, I don't know, I think they haven't really thought beyond that, but they might like continue to do something like that where they would support it. Or then we could then, set the cost so that we would be covering at least the cost of electricity to see if there was a profit margin that we wanted to have. But I mean, ultimately, seems like a kind of a no-brainer that we would just throw our hat in the ring, just because it's.
Yeah. Love it. Carly, the only alternative that I would have us consider is the new location of the village hall.
Yeah,
Because
so
it
I
sounds-
talked to them, I attended their webinar
Mhm.
last week or the week before, and and you have to it has to be an existing site.
I see. Okay.
So yeah, that was my first thought too.
Yeah.
But
Okay.
I was like, this is at least a central, like off of 14,
Yeah.
hopefully people would use it.
And
Yeah.
can you split it up like 2 and 2, or they all have to be in the same location?
And it all has to be in the same location. Yeah, because I think, because then it becomes more expensive for them to install. It's easier for them to just do all 4 at once, kind of a thing, so. But I just
I mean,
wanted to.
the advantage of that location too is being visible. That's one thing. And then, if somebody needs to kill half an hour while they're charging up, you've got at least a couple businesses there that could benefit from
Yeah,
that. The
you walk on the
coffee
trail.
shops down the road.
Yeah.
Yeah. Carly, it's great. Love it. What do
Yeah.
you need from Sustainability Committee?
What was that?
What do you need from us to do this, just to apply?
I don't think anything. I'll let you know though. I'm hoping to work on the bulk of it tomorrow. And hopefully it doesn't look like it's that big of a application process, and they're looking for quite a few host sites around Dane County. So I think that because, we only have one charging station in the village, that hopefully we can make a strong case that we need it.
I
But
also would love it if we could advertise for them, because right now, some of us who live there don't even know that the pig has a charging station. And
Yeah.
it seems like that's the kind of thing we might want to advertise to bring people through our community.
Yeah. So I don't know the background on that. Is that specifically the pig that got those?
It's a level 1, so it's really not a thing we want to advertise.
Okay, got it. So if we get these, then we'll advertise that.
We will definitely advertise them if you get a level 2.
Okay.
That is a draw. Do I understand that it's going to be in the lot connected to Vessel, or in the not lot kind of across the way?
Probably, I would say across the way.
Yeah,
Kind of like,
then
because you don't want to take up those spaces for businesses.
Right.
They're definitely allocated for businesses. So I
Right.
guess, would you think it'd be better to have them closer to 14 or closer to the creek? Like if we do it in that other lot?
oh, I guess I pictured them closer to the creek.
Okay.
I don't know if that's better or worse, but I mean, so I want to understand a little more how the money is going to work. I understand that it's subsidized at least the first 5 years, and it's going to offset the actual electric costs because then we should break even. But
Yep.
by what mechanism? Is this through charge point? Is this through an
Through
existing?
Dane County, through
But
Dane County Climate Coalition. I think the Dane County
yes,
Climate.
but I mean they don't have an actual like app that people pay through. So do we know how people will actually pay? Because
Um,
that's important.
The one in the pay, you scan your card.
yeah, I would think it would be the exact same situation.
We only,
So
So what
to-
they'll be taking care of the back end, as far as like setting up the charging fees that are associated. I can pull up the RFP too.
I'm so curious because like, if you have like the ChargePoint app, then it gives you the map of where the chargers are and it gives you details about what's included near each charger. So we want to be on as many of those maps as we can because, it's a pull to our village, it's a pull to those businesses.
I think some of those conversations are a little bit later down the road. We have to get the grant first
Sure, right on.
and then accept the grant.
Yep, yep.
So, but what I can do is I can send you all, the information that I have on the grant, like the RFP, so you can look through, because it's all publicly available.
Oh,
Um, but it's kind of a longer document. Let me just see if I can get up.
I know the charger in the pig lot is actually owned by MG. They actually own that charger. You go, it's an MG owned charger. And they just put it there.
Yeah.
With the pig or whatever.
Here, I'm just gonna share. You're still seeing the agenda, aren't you?
No, we can
Oh,
see
you can
the
see it now?
RFP.
Oh, perfect. Okay. Sorry you watched me get there. Okay, so this is all of the information. Guidelines, scope of work, vendor questionnaire, background. Yeah, I think instead of me just like going through and trying to find this, I'll just send stuff to everyone. Is that
That's fine.
sound okay? Because I mean, I want to apply for the grant regardless, I think, and then we can kind of sort out some of these details.
Yeah, Dane County will figure out that they want to use this charging money exchanger.
Yeah, the point of sale
who they're buying
situation.
from. They're just trying to get chargers out throughout the county. I don't know if they got a grant that they're doing this through.
They do. I think they have a federal grant they're trying to use up.
Putting it up in that lot, they're by the creek or up by 14 where it's more visible for people driving through. I mean, that would be great,
Okay. But yeah, I will send that information to everyone so everybody has a chance to review it all.
Great, thank you.
That's all I had. Sorry, that was a long report out.
Oh, good. I have a quick report out. Last Friday, I ended up going to the Dane County Sustainability Leadership Collaboration had a in-person meeting in Oregon at their library. They just built this new 30,000 square foot library. And a bunch of people from all over Dane County were there involved in sustainability, and just kind of got to listen to some people speak and talk to some other people there about things that they were doing, what was going on. Got a nice tour of the library. In that 30,000 square foot building, they don't have a natural gas hookup to it at all. It's all geothermal electricity. They have solar panels on the top. One, because I actually really wanted to see the geothermal system. And when they took us into the mechanical room, it's just kind of these pipes coming in and these pipes going out. They have this space where they did all the drilling, but the actual heat exchangers were on the rooftop. So I didn't actually get to see like what the heat exchangers looked like, which is what I wanted to see. But so it was nice, and I got to talk with some people and just figure out what was going on and just how other communities are engaging in sustainability and what we can do here. So yeah.
Michael, where was that location?
It was in Oregon. So I hadn't been to Oregon in a long time. And so it was just a nice trip across Dane County, and I got to talk to the Oregon Village Planner for quite a while. She was really nice, so it was great.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah.
Wasn't Oregon also the first school in Wisconsin that's net zero?
That
I
I
don't
don't
know off the top of my head. But yeah, this library was pretty impressive. It was very,
That's awesome.
yeah, it was pretty big. So that's what I had.
And
Anyone
was
else?
that Kathy Kunz's group, Michael?
Yeah, it definitely
Okay.
was.
Yeah,
Yeah,
she's also doing the grant. Her
Yeah.
grant.
right.
Yeah,
The-
they're killing it. They're doing all kinds of things.
Yeah,
Okay.
it was cool. I mean, the Madison mayor was there. She spoke, as did the new Dane County executive. They were there and they gave like kind of little pep talks on sustainability and be the leadership that you want people to be on your government and things like that. So it
So it
was,
made you feel good.
it was like, yeah, I get charged up. So it was cool.
Awesome.
Any other report outs?
I don't have anything.
I don't have anything either. I don't know. I may have missed it too. I don't know. I haven't heard, or I just want to say welcome to our new members, Jen and Jennifer. It's great to have you.
Are you guys official now? Is that like what?
Oh,
We
yes.
are official, yes.
I didn't know if we had to swear them in or do anything like
I
that.
did no swearing.
Where do we do the hazing? Does the hazing?
Yeah, the hazing, just sing a song.
Thank
Yeah,
goodness
it's
we're
still
on
a public
Zoom.
meeting being recorded.
Yeah, well, thank you.
Welcome! Yay! We're so glad you're here.
Yeah, I forgot to say that. Yeah, thanks for coming up and wanting to be a member of our committee. I forgot that. Both the Jen and Keith. Yeah, I think. Are you plugged into these?
Yeah.
Okay, you're hooked into.
You just press the button.
Okay,
Yeah.
I just know some.
Yeah, I have it
people-
plugged in.
Some people just use their laptop and don't hook into them.
Yeah, the microphones should be working.
Okay. All right, so now we don't report outs. We are on to the approval of the minutes from from the March meeting. Do I have a motion to approve these?
I'll motion to approve.
Steve will second.
I have a motion and a second to approve the March 12th sustainability meetings. Any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, nay. All right, the meeting minutes have been approved. Okay, so now we're on to the sustainability plan being incorporated into the village's comprehensive plan, like what Jay was speaking about earlier. Do we have ideas with what we want to do with this or how we wish to proceed? I mean, do we want to add things into chapters? Do we want to write our own? Do we want to see where things can be added?
Yeah.
I mean, we really have, you know.
Yeah, I have two half thoughts. My half thoughts are one, Kevin Thusius was kind of excited about helping to like look through the comprehensive plan and see how we could find a fit with part of what had been in and what is in our sustainability plan. So that's a resource that I just want to name. I don't know if he's still willing to do that, but that's something that he offered a year or two ago. The other half thought is I'm more inclined to look at chapters and see if we can make recommendations than adding a standalone chapter. I think it's better to integrate it than to have a whole chapter that could be dismissed. So that's my recommendation.
I totally agree with that. It definitely should be integrated into everything, which is, it's a great opportunity to be invited to do this. And
Yeah.
we should start right there because that's where we'd like to end, right? So if they're willing to let us do that right away, that's the way to do it.
Yeah.
Okay, well, that sounds great.
What size are we talking about? Like, I don't know, the comprehensive plan, we're talking chapters. How big is a chapter? What he said?
Where
9
is it?
chapters,
It
10
is on the
chapters?
website. You can find it right on the website.
Yeah, there are.
Let me see. I have it saved as a
Yeah, I was
favorite
just
for
looking
me.
at Today, there
Where
are,
is it? Oh, here it here.
I don't know, about 8 or 9 chapters in there. I mean, one is economic development, one is like natural resources, one is land use, one is transportation.
So you got 144 pages.
One is like utilities or something.
Okay. All told, not per chapter.
Yes, correct.
Yeah. Okay.
No,
Yeah, I mean, that seems highly doable. So it sounds like each chapter is like 15-ish pages.
You could do something similar. So the plan commission went through each chapter every month. So someone would be kind of responsible for leading, any revisions that they thought were necessary. So you could kind of take that approach if you wanted to.
We could kind of give each person a chapter and see what sustainability ideas they want to put into them. And just sort of, you can just go and look at that chapter, and then you can go out and, look at Middleton's sustainability plan and just rob what they did, put it into ours if you wanted to, or other communities. I think Middleton just did a big integration. They're kind of like going out and speaking when I was at Oregon. Oregon and us seem to be kind of at the same location. Like, we don't have a sustainability coordinator, like a full-time staff person, whereas Middleton does. And so they're really firing on a lot of these things like all the time. Like, I'm gonna be honest, like, you're applying for one of these charge pouring camps for Dane County. I think Middleton's going to apply for 5 different locations, like through that same grant thing, like is what the sustainability coordinator from there said at that meeting. So, don't think that you have to reinvent the wheel. If you go through, that might even be just a great point, just go in and research other communities, comp plans and see if they've, Middleton's, and see if how they've integrated their sustainability plan into it, and see if we want to do that. That could
So
be.
what if we did this? What if we, on this call, went through the chapters and pulled out the chapters that we think at first blush would be ripe for us to focus on, maybe initially, maybe not entirely, but what I'm already hearing is natural resources, transportation, and land use as 3 standalone chapters. Maybe there are others too, but what if we assigned an individual to lead that chapter? That individual could both make recommendations, but also do research for other communities like Middleton, Oregon, Verona, probably Sun Prairie at this point also, to get ideas for changes. But what if I think, just kind of process wise, I'm suggesting that we assign one person to kind of run point on a chapter.
Yeah, I'm fine with that. Is that what other people feel?
That works for me. And you said Kevin Thusias also was interested in going through some of this?
Yeah, that was like a year or 2 ago, so things might have changed, but
He's on plan commission, so he's been through this again. But from a plan commission, just kind of a general, not necessarily sustainability focused.
Okay, well, with that being said, is a chapter jumping out at anybody that they want? I'm not gonna assign things, people just,
I
Okay,
agree though that we should prioritize which ones we're looking at first.
well,
Figure out.
sure, yeah.
Someone call him Melissa. I want to hear what she has to say.
I'd love to do transportation.
Hey,
And, the first thing I thought was, we already have this giant spreadsheet that you guys have been very meticulous at organizing all possible plans. Isn't it just a matter of taking that and fitting it into each chapter?
Well, I
I
think, I think there's some of that, Jen. I think that's exactly right. And maybe taking like the intention behind our recommendations and getting proposed language from other communities to make it,
make it fit in better.
yeah, make it fit better. But yeah, I think that is basically, and that's what Kevin was volunteering to help us do, is to how to take our ideas from the sustainability plan and help move them into the comprehensive plan. So yeah, that's what I think we should do. And transportation so far has been the one we haven't figured out how to move. And I think the comprehensive plan is probably the place to get it in there.
Okay.
okay, well, that sounds great, Melissa. Let's see, what else is up there? Agriculture, natural, cultural resources.
Open space and environmental corridors. Land use, existing land use.
See, that's where, like, the ideas of state sustainability, like energy and waste reduction. What is waste reduction? Does that go into land use? Like, no, like, landfill reduction size? where do you put, like, because transportation is like sustainability idea just straight up. I mean,
Any
but like, how does like the water cycle function in there? Like, where do you,
utilities,
yeah.
chapter 5, and
Is it-
community facilities,
that's what I don't know, or,
housing.
Well, what if we're asking folks to volunteer to read a chapter and then compare it to what's in our list of recommendations from our plan and then make recommendations about how to integrate it? Because I don't know either without reading these and
yeah,
then comparing them to what's in our plan. So I think we're going to have volunteers who take on a chapter.
yeah, definitely. All right, does anybody want to volunteer for any chapters? Just shoot it out there.
Well, what's the timeline that Jay said? I mean, I think he only said there's like a month, didn't he?
The
No.
community
No.
survey is in July, but I think like 6 months.
Ah, I see.
And
Oh,
our current comprehensive plan, I think, is good through 2027. So we're very early in the process of getting things together for the new one,
okay.
collecting data. So yeah, it's not a big rush by any means. This is just like the collecting data from stakeholders and via the survey. So
And then I have a question. Was there a specific reason why they choose to use the same survey that they did like 10 years ago? Isn't that what he said before? They're using the
yeah,
same survey?
they used, it's very similar. It's a little bit different though, because before they had integrated the corp. So that is like the parkland document as well. So it was a survey that was geared towards getting information on the comp plan and the corp. So that part was taken out of it. And then so they had gone through several meetings at Plan Commission of updating it. So they had asked additional questions because I mean a lot of it is about what kind of housing do you, like for each kind of section there's questions that are geared towards that, and so there were different amenities that they wanted to add, like there was nothing about a dog park, so that needed to be added, that kind of a thing. So but I think just because it already existed is why we used it.
Well, so there weren't any like sustainability questions included on the survey. I don't know what we would include on there.
Right.
Things like, okay, so this was a weird thing that happened at the Oregon meeting to me. At the beginning of it, one of the first questions they asked was, does your community have what was it, like zero carbon or reduced carbon footprint ordinance in place by a certain year?
A lot of communities do.
We don't,
I
but
know.
everyone stood up and I was just sitting way in the back, like, I'm just gonna stand up, like pretend we do, but we don't. I would have been the only person sitting down in the entire room, I think.
That's funny. Yeah. Yeah, we're kind of behind the ball on a lot of things in Cross Plains on sustainability. We could really step up our game.
And that's where I was like, man, that'd be like a great thing for this survey. Like, if we're doing a survey, like, would you support the village being net zero by 2050? Like, just a simple line like that in there.
Right
I thought
on.
we had that was floated before the board and got like shot down. I can't remember what the context was.
On a survey.
I don't think we ever asked it because we weren't sure if it was gonna pass. We just asked for the energy audit. We didn't ask for a resolution did we? I mean, I don't even know. I don't know.
I wasn't here.
I guess I can
Sorry.
go back and look through the resolution, but I don't think we have anything that Cross Plains is gonna reduce carbon footprint at all.
Nope. We've not set a goal. The closest that we got is we tried to get the village board to set an energy goal.
Right.
And then we had to walk it back to prioritize energy efficiency. And then even then what we got was the audit. So no, we don't, and it's too bad.
Yeah.
There's room to grow. I'll put it that way. Let's say it that way.
Opportunities.
But like, if we're trying to set, like, if this comp plan is gonna sit from like 27 to 37, like, this would be a great place to get this in. Like, this idea, if we want to, or not.
If what I'm hearing is that the board's been resistant to doing any kind of goals in that area. But now they're asking if we would like to have a part of actually writing the plan. How does the plan get approved then? What's the process there? Is it just are we gonna do all this suggestions, rewrite these chapters, including our goals, and then what?
I think it's a different board, Jen. That's part of it, but it's still an important, the process doesn't change. That's like, but I do want to note that there are different individuals on this iteration of the board that might be different.
And last time you weren't putting the suggestions in the actual plan. You were looking at it, doing it a different way. So what is the process for the actual plan getting approved? Does anyone know that?
I'm sure it needs plan commission and village board approval at the very
Uh-huh.
least.
And there'll
Okay.
be a public hearing,
And there'll be a public hearing, yeah.
like at the end, like once it's gone through the survey and the community input and the stakeholders.
Because we'll also have Vandewall and Associates assist with probably some of that community input and stakeholder process and kind of, putting all the figures and everything together. So yeah, but it's definitely, it does need village board approval.
So this is just the first pass. We're just gonna put everything in there that we hope for, and then as it goes through different iterations, it'll eventually find a final form and get approved, right?
Correct. Yep.
Okay.
Yeah, so that's kind of what the plan commission has already done. They kind of went through it, kind of like massaged it a little bit. Everybody kind of provided their own input. And then I think that's what sustainability would then do as well before, it continues to progress and everybody gets a chance to weigh in.
But I see what you're saying about the survey, because I do think there's an appetite in our community for adding a lot of the stuff into the plan, but we don't have the backing of that survey if there's nothing in there about it.
Right,
I
exactly.
mean, I don't see a problem with me providing that to you all and providing input, but
Or is it going out, like, is it?
it's going to be going out soon, but
Yeah,
I mean, if there's like a couple of questions that you all feel very strongly need to be added, I don't feel that's.
What would we want to ask them in that survey? What do you
Is it
think?
open-ended, or is it just like we say something like, do you wanna see more? Are we the right amount?
I
Or too much?
Yeah.
I have it printed out on my desk, so I can.
Don't you think it would definitely give more backing to any recommendations we make to put in the plan they may be kept in the plan if there's backing from the survey?
Yes, I think so. But a lot of it, yeah, it's kind of like agree, strongly agree, disagree. I think there's like 4 or 5 options. It's a lot of scale because we want people to be able to kind of breeze through it. And we're hoping, I mean, it's a pretty long survey, but I mean, it's stuff that people can kind of react to pretty quickly. Like, do you want to see more of this type of housing? Do you want to see more of this type of housing? Like, kind of things like that.
Would you support a carbon goal of X amount by this date, by this year? That would be a great place to see if the community would be supportive of that.
Or maybe something very, very general would be worth something. But what if we just say, is it important to you to include recommendations from a sustainability committee of your peers? Because then they could literally say if they're backing what we are suggesting. Because sometimes people are interested in backing people who are invested in doing the thing, even though they don't want to do the figuring out of the details themselves. And it's worth getting their backing.
Right, I agree, I mean, yeah. Both those questions kind of mean the same thing, but yours is more of a generalized one, whereas his is more of a specific.
And you
Like,
can ask both.
you could. Or even just, how supportive of you are you of the village? How supportive you of the village of pursuing sustainability goals?
Yeah, or even on a scale of 1 to 10, how much do you want
Right.
to see the village?
Pursue sustainability. Yeah. Do you think it's in its final form currently? survey?
No, we're still,
Did plan kind of decide or?
plan kind of decided, yes, but Becky and I are still tweaking it a bit. Like for instance, the last time we did it, there were two iterations of it. There was one for residents and one for non-residents. So like if you did not live in the village, but like you worked here, for instance, like me, you could still fill out the survey, but then you wouldn't have to provide, you wouldn't be asked to provide input on like housing and things like that because they might not be applicable to you. So there's a lot. It's a really long survey, kind of like I said. But I think adding a couple of questions sustainability related, I don't foresee there being an issue with that. If there were a couple that you all feel strongly about. But I just pulled it up kind of on my phone here. So kind of like the first question for housing in neighborhoods is what is your level of support for the following housing related approaches for Cross Plains? Like one is attracting young families to existing housing. Two is planning for more new housing intended to attract young families, that kind of a thing. And then you have like strongly opposed to strongly in favor. So that's one section on housing. Like you could also provide like one is about options for the type of housing. Like, do you want single family small homes like my or less than 2,000 square feet? Like duplex, like what kind of housing options? So you can so there's just like a lot of options that are available for people to choose from. So you could do a question like questions like that. Like you could check like different options to multiple options in a list. I don't know, however you wanted to kind of formulate the question. But we don't have any open-ended anything in there. There's always going to be, yeah, it's a multiple choice survey.
Is it divided into sections, like a housing section and a,
Yeah, it seems like I think we divided it by each chapter.
excellent. So how about we have one question in each section representing each chapter that basically says a very similar thing, which is on this scale, how much do you support um, uh, implementing sustainability measures over the next 10 years in our 10-year plan? And then you give the scale. And, in this area, how much do you support it in this area? How much do you support it in this area? And then that'll give us some indication of which of these chapters is most important to the public and which we should focus most of our energy on then. And then also it'll give some support to whatever we're putting into this plan. We can then indicate that, look, the public indicated that this area is very important to them, that we suggest sustainability measures in this area, and then it'll likely be kept in the plan then.
I don't know if we want to put that question in there 9 times, if this is in 9 different places, it might become repetitive if it's how much do you support sustainability with this aspect of it? I mean, because I don't even know we don't even know what a sustainability housing aspect is. I mean, we're trying to figure that out right now ourselves. I mean,
But that'll give us some direction on where we should put our efforts.
maybe you could tailor it to each one a little bit, and maybe we could put that question actually in like the utility section or something, like, do you support the village goal of net zero by at least such and such date, something like that.
right.
It's a little risky to write a question with a range, but the question is very specific. Because when you say, are you supporting net zero by this date or, this number by this date, then the range of answers doesn't indicate which part of the question they're okay with, right? So maybe they're okay with net zero, but not by that date. Or maybe they're okay with that date, but not net zero. Or maybe they're not okay with the idea of net zero at all. Or it doesn't give us a good indicator of what they mean.
Or even just, do you support the village making a goal?
Well, what if you guys pick like your top 4 chapters that you would like to concentrate on, and then say, where would you like the committee to focus their energy towards chapter 2, 3, 4, 5?
Sure.
I also just found a sustainability question that's already in the survey. It is, what is your level of support for the following approaches related to community sustainability for Cross Plains? With 1 being strongly opposed and 5 being strongly in favor. Sustainability is defined as the capacity to support the long-term health and welfare of the natural and human-made environment for current and future generations. So that's all at the top.
Hmm.
And so then people can rank whether they're opposed to or strongly in favor of further efforts to reduce, reuse, and recycle waste, more energy efficient building designs and construction, alternative energy generation like solar, wind, waste to energy, less use of chemicals that affect water quality, such as fertilizers and pesticides on lawns and salt on roads, more energy efficient vehicles like hybrids, electrics, and bikes, focus on consumption of locally produced foods, community vegetable gardens in residential areas, new development following green building and site design standards, redevelopment and mixed land uses in older commercial and office areas to promote shorter trips and increase activity, financial incentives to advance sustainable practices, and water conservation initiatives.
Okay, great. The questions in there.
Yeah,
Hmm.
that's great.
How is that
Sorry,
answered
guys.
again? Is
I'm
that
sorry, what was that,
you?
Steve?
How do you answer that question? Is it again?
it's a grid.
I agree or don't agree.
It's
Okay.
a grid from strongly opposed to strongly in favor. So a 1
Okay.
For each one.
for each one.
Oh,
That
Yeah.
covers everything on the spreadsheet, doesn't it?
Yeah, that was pretty nice actually.
Great.
Okay. Well, sorry, guys. I guess I didn't read this for you.
That's
But I just
great.
want to make sure there's nothing else in here that's related. No, I think it was just that one big sustainability question with all those options. But if there's anything that you'd like to add, I'm happy to, or adjust. If you want to be more specific in any of
If
these.
we really do wanna nail down getting a goal at some point, maybe just putting a general thing in there, like supporting.
Do you support net zero by 20? Like,
or
how
do you
strongly
support-
is it
or
net
do you
zero?
Support coming up with a goal.
So like, because I mean, there's,
Um,
if you support one of them is more energy efficient building designs and construction, maybe you could kind of feed off of that one.
And then was there something in there about electricity production from alternative sources, right?
Yes.
So this one.
There is also new development following green building and site design standards. Alternate energy like solar, wind, and waste to energy.
Right.
So I mean, these are still pretty general. So I'm just saying if you want to add any more specificity into any of those.
What do you think? Should we put a goal one in there? You want a goal question? We should try. Let's try. Why not? We gotta serve it. Let's see what happens, right?
I am in favor of adding a goal question. If we ask one question, I think it should be about goals.
Are you talking specifically a net zero goal?
Not necessarily net
Mm-mm.
zero. I don't know if I'd use that language, but I might use an energy goal. I might use an energy goal around all renewable energy by 2020, by 2050 or something like that. I'm not sure where I'd land on it, but I do think we should ask a goal question.
What about asking it in general, on this scale, how do you feel about supporting the village setting an energy goal?
You could
Not
just say
necessarily.
village energy goal, like that's what you could say, and then the ranking is like strongly opposed to strongly in favor. Like whatever the specific goal would be.
Well, I think that works.
So, you add that.
I don't love it.
50-50? Okay.
Yeah, I don't love whether people are in favor of the village setting a goal, but leaving it open-ended about what the goal is. I think, if we're not, I think that doesn't tell us enough about what people care about.
That's why, yeah, I think it needs to be a specific goal, and then you have you put it in this ranking system, the
Yeah.
strongly opposed to the strongly in favor. So my question to you all is like by 2050, what are you thinking?
By 2050, what do we want the goal to?
And is it use of renewables? I like that aspect actually. I think people understand what that is. Net zero is hard to get your head around.
100% renewable energy use. Like, would you want it for all public buildings? Would it be for like the entire village?
Well, that's
I mean-
where, I don't think we can say it's like for the whole village.
No, so you could just say it for like the public, village owned or village buildings.
Yeah, and I want to take a look at what we asked a similar question in our survey to the community, I guess 3 or 4 years ago now, our sustainability survey. So I'm gonna see if I can pull that up and see what language we used, because I think that would be, we talked a lot about that language for that question. And let me see if I can find it and pull that back up.
Do you think that's reaching too big, too far? Should it be more like, reducing 10 or 20% over the next 5 years kind of thing? Or I don't, that's, to me, 2050 is so far away
Right.
and
If-
reaching,
If he was answering that question, I would like to be more aggressive on it, so if it
Yeah.
says 2050, I don't know.
that could be a great long-term goal, but I think in the more short term, in people's mind is, well, what can we do over the next 5 to 10 years to better the community?
Is that, can I ask who all is at the village hall?
That's Matt Cooey. He's
Oh,
the new public facilities director.
Ah, I wish we had done an introduction. Okay, hi, great.
We're at those. Okay, Matt Cooley is here also. I'm sorry, if you guys aren't here, he's gonna be taking over for Carly in the future. This is Carly's last meeting with us. He's gonna be our new staff member for these meetings. So
Okay.
also, that's the other voice that you're hearing.
Okay, that's really.
Welcome, Matt.
Thank
And
you.
thank you, Carly.
Matt.
Yeah, of course. It's all good.
Okay. Yeah, we ended up not asking a direct question about setting a goal. We said the village uses this much electricity and this much natural gas at a cost of this. Should the village implement strategies to reduce electricity and natural gas? But we didn't float the question about a goal. I really thought we did though. I thought we were asking like, even if it costs money. And I
Yeah,
remember us talking about that.
I didn't look at our survey, and I do think that we did ask a question about something about would you support your taxes going up to support
Right.
like
Mhm.
inside of our survey, and like I don't remember what the outcome was. I mean, it wasn't like 100%, but it wasn't less than 50, but it wasn't.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it felt like it was more like a 65, 70, like
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah. So what we said is the responses were yes, but only if it doesn't cost anything. Yes, if the energy savings, I'm willing to pay more in taxes to help reduce our carbon footprint.
right. Yeah, okay.
Yeah. So that's how we languaged it.
Okay, well, let's nail down this survey question so we get it done, right? This thing you say it's gonna go out, so what do we want to say? Do you want to do a long-term thing, or do you want to do we want to renewable energy 50% by, oh, I don't know, 2040? I mean, I'm just throwing numbers out here.
Why, since we're looking about running it into the 10-year plan, how about we make whatever goal we make by 2037? Because that's the term of the 10-year
Mhm.
plan.
Mm-hmm.
That sounds great. What do we want to say? 137.
Yeah, sorry. I'm also pulling up our plan and the language that we used to see if we can mirror it. So, I know we've got a link. I'm trying to find our link. It's in our agenda, isn't it?
Yes, it is in the agenda.
Well, what do we think is doable with the village hall?
I don't think 100%. I think that's going to scare people away.
All right. So
As much as I would like to say 100%, is there something that is actionable that we can make headway? Decent, like real headway on?
Yeah.
Thinking with the village hall, if we're just getting solar, that's gonna reduce.
Okay,
Why don't you say 80%? 80% feels like it's a really good goal, but it seems kind of doable. It's a lot, but it's not all of it.
But what are we doing? Is that public buildings?
Yes,
Are we
public.
recommending public
Yeah.
buildings?
Yeah.
Are we-
Yes. So
anything?
I'm pulling,
Are we
Municipal
doing
operations.
electric vehicles? Like when we replace vehicles, we replace them with an EV? I don't know.
Well, did we
Yeah.
do energy audit? Do we have the results of that?
for what?
Just like our energy use in general of the village?
Well, I have a spreadsheet that I've taken every single NG and E-bill for like the last 5 years and every single meter in the village. You know how much energy's gone through it. I'm still doing it, still just have it. So that was the focus on, that was started because of that focus on energy $1,000 grant that we got. That's when I started doing that. So I know what our energy usage is. I haven't seen any reduction in it.
Yeah, I'm just trying to figure out what would be a realistic goal, because if, I mean, we're getting this new village hall, if we're implementing, we know we're gonna implement solar,
Right,
how much are we gonna offset there? Like, what percentage are we anticipating is gonna go down in our energy use? And then how much do we wanna ask that we would go above that?
right, okay, this is kind of jumping ahead. One of the things was the village hall thing on the agenda, which is final, just because it was a question here. So that was a piece that came out that Focus on Energy did an analysis of the new building and with its energy usage, whether or not it was geothermal or whether or not it was standard boilers and such. And inside of the documents in the packet, it goes through and shows how much is being produced. And I mean, with what they were saying on the building, that's, if that solar array is correct with what they were saying, that building is gonna be a net producer of energy. Like, it's with the size on there, like, it looked like it was less, well, maybe it wasn't, maybe that was just for the heating. I mean, I don't know, it was kind of tough to read, but it's definitely gonna offset the heating and air conditioning, and it's gonna have like an extra quite a bit of kilowatt hours left over from that document.
So thank you, Melissa, for dropping, that's a nice goal, proposed goal you put in the chat there. And just, can I back up on the village hall? Did I hear Jay said there's going to be solar on that thing, but then I thought I heard only if we get grants to do it. Did I hear that wrong?
I think he's looking for grants in any way. The cost of the building is proposed to be at least $1 million over what we thought in January. So he's looking for just any and all funding sources that we can find or committees can find to help offset that cost. So that doesn't mean necessarily that if we don't get the grant, we wouldn't get the solar. The solar is very much baked into our plans so far.
Okay, thank you for clarifying that.
Yeah, absolutely.
So it's pretty much a guarantee on the solar, it's just the geothermal that's like up in here.
Well,
I wouldn't say anything's a guarantee at this point.
yeah,
Thank
right. Cause we're getting ahead on the agenda here. Like, I'll speak about it anyway, cause she's doing, that's the question. I'll speak about the building. So inside of that thing, or do you want me to wait? Should we wait?
I think we should
Let's-
figure out what this
yeah,
goal
let's do
will
this.
be, and then we can move on. I like that, meet 80% of all village operations with renewable energy by 2037.
And then instead of energy, Melissa put in electricity
Okay,
needs.
so it would be meet 80% of all village operations electricity needs with renewable energy by 2037.
I like it.
Yeah.
It's measurable.
Not 100%.
I think,
It's not
I
being
think it's understandable.
2050, which feels like a long time away.
Right.
I also wonder if we need to have 2037 versus just 10 years. And I say that because for people who look at these benchmarks for like where we need to be for reducing energy by a certain time, 2037 is a weird benchmark. But if we just say 10 years out, that seems good enough and people can kind of make their own guesses about what that means.
Yeah,
So I might suggest rather than write 2037, we just say in 10 years.
yeah, that's.
Yeah.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Got it.
If we switch the verbiage to electricity, then it doesn't indicate anything to do with like the vehicles that we talked about earlier.
That's right.
Unless we assume they're all electric vehicles by then.
Good point. Yep.
You could just put a general question about whether people support the idea of transitioning to EV, you know, when a vehicle is at the end of its useful life or something like
Yeah.
that.
Like,
Sure, why not?
Like that's like the replacement kind of
Yeah.
policy is that you then, you know, replace it with an EV.
Yeah.
yeah,
With these questions, would they be able to fit into the existing grid? Like that last one about EV vehicles, I could see where that could be another line item. I strongly support or I don't support it. You know, make a positive statement. I would support replacing village vehicles with EV, whatever versions, models. And they can either strongly support or not.
Mhm.
Whereas I think the goal, I don't know, does the goal need to stand on its own or would that be squished into the grid as well?
I think you could literally just say meet all, 80% of all village operations electricity needs. I think that could fit in the grid actually. Because you're strongly, the grid is strongly opposed to strongly in favor.
yeah,
So you could just have a statement and they're just reacting to the statement.
yeah.
Mhm.
So I think for both of those, they can fit in the grid.
Right, just put it right in that same thing. It's kind of like this is the sustainability grid of all these questions.
Yeah, but I am gonna go back. I can't access it on the survey the way that I have it on this Google form, but I want to make sure there's nothing already in the transportation section about the EV. I'm guessing it's not. And they put all of the sustainability stuff together. But I don't know, would you all be in favor of keeping all of the sustainability stuff together
Yeah, I
Yeah.
think,
and not having something
yeah,
in another section?
just keep it all together, because you get people thinking down that idea path. Yeah, I'm fine with that. Just-
Okay.
Yeah, I'm okay with that. It
Okay.
seems to work with the grid too, so.
Sounds good. Okay, we got it. Now on to the building, right?
Yeah, so do we know what we're doing with these chapters, or did people choose chapters? You're doing
Oh, yeah, let me go to
transportation,
the
are you
thing.
doing other research? Or-
I'll take any chapters.
Okay, let me just get back to that page. Hold on.
Anything, housing, land, anything. Utilities.
Do you want to just start at the top?
Sure.
So you could do issues and opportunities.
It's like, it's like.
I think this might not be related though.
That's definitely-
Okay, never mind.
I can scan it just to see if there's anything, but.
And then
the
maybe
others you catch.
chapter 2, because this has
I'll do chapter 1 and 2.
natural resources. Okay, so Jenny's gonna do 1 and 2. And then you've got 3 is land use. Does anyone feel strongly about land use?
I can do land use.
Okay. All right. And then Melissa was gonna do chapter 4. And then utilities and community facilities.
Steve can try that one.
Steve will. Steve does 5. 6 will be housing and neighborhood development.
That's me, Jen Curl.
Oh, Jen. Okay. Economic development, that might be a scan through. Oh, there's some stuff on redevelopment, development,
Okay.
recommendations. You'll do chapter 7, Michael? And then we've got 8, environmental cooperation, and 9 is, so yeah, probably 8 will be the last one. If there's any intergovernmental. That might be another scan through one.
Yeah, I'll do that one.
Okay, so you'll do 3, 7, and 8. Okay.
Well, I'm uncertain how much I'm develop, but
That'll help because you're a trustee and we're going to governmental. All right, so that looks done.
okay.
What are we thinking for timeline?
Well, I definitely want to talk about the village hall piece because I talked about that a little bit with Jay at the beginning. And I just want to see what your guys' opinions are on.
I think
something.
she was talking about timeline of getting this done.
Okay.
Well, are we gonna meet in a month, 2 months, or? It'll be, I feel like I could get it done in a couple months.
Okay, yeah. I don't know, when you guys want to bring this back,
Yeah, is this,
or just when, I can just put another, whenever there's anything done, you just talk about it at the next meeting, I mean.
6 months doesn't sound like a real lot of time to me.
Yeah, agreed.
I mean, it's particularly if something comes up and we have meetings canceled or whatever.
Mhm.
So yeah, I guess come back and at least discuss part of it
Mhm.
next month.
Yeah, let's do July, let's aim for July. And see what you can do, how about that? And
Okay.
what planning is around July, if not, it's definitely August, how's that? But let's do July, earlier the better.
How about the first 4 chapters July and the second 4 chapters August?
Okay, that's fine.
Because then we kind of have a defined amount to do each time.
Okay. What chapter, that's fine with me. Can you remind it the chapter number?
Good point. What number did I pick?
yep. So Jenny is 1 and 2. Michael has chapter 3, 7, and 8. Melissa has chapter 4. Steve has chapter 5. And Jen has chapter 6.
What do you think would be the most digestible way to present this information back? So we're all kind of doing we're looking for similar things and reporting back on similar things. We're obviously going to read the chapter, look for opportunities that might align with either some goals that we've had before or maybe some new thoughts. And is that a bring back to the committee? I found these 5 things. What do you think? Or what would be the best use of our time?
Yeah, that would definitely be, and the way I would approach it, I know I'm gonna go out and see what Middleton did, like, I think it's in their plan. And I know that we're working on it, I am first and foremost gonna go out there and see what they did and maybe even bounce, yeah, definitely there is gonna be like a beginning reference point to see if it's in there, which I think it has been placed.
Okay, so Michael, your strategy, and that sounds like a good one for the rest of us too, is possibly benchmark with some existing work that's been done.
See what's been done, yeah.
And then what we bring to the committee at our assigned meeting time is just the suggestions that we're going to make to add to the existing. Because
Yeah.
we're not going to read all the chapters in their new form or anything, just the changes, the additions,
Right, exactly.
suggested additions, yeah.
Cool.
That being said, I have to now go to a different meeting. So Thank you. This was great. I will work on my homework.
Thanks, Jen.
Thanks, Jen.
Thank you.
And Michael, what are you thinking now? I did ask the question about timeline and I actually meant it about this, but now I am curious for tonight's meeting. With Jen taking off, I'm also in a hotel room currently in Minneapolis with my kids. So things, what's our timeline for the rest of tonight's meeting?
Well, I definitely want to talk about the village hall energy design options piece because it was sort of brought up to the village board. And I sort of was asking Jay about it. Do we have any desires for what goes into the village hall? Because now is the time that basically is going to have to be happening. Like there was a geothermal option that they put into the building that Focus on Energy also did when they did their energy analysis of the building. Jay and I were speaking about this before the meeting because I wasn't sure how it was progressing, what the timeline was on that. And basically Focus on Energy went out there and that's what was in the packet is like those 17 pages. And they brought it back to the board, but there wasn't like a vote taken on it, which was like, Jenny here had asked me about the geothermal option. When that was brought back to the village board, it essentially, which it is basically a $450,000 increased upfront cost for geothermal. And I believe that was basically for the drilling aspect of it, because it looked like their other analysis was the cost of everything else. Like the equipment was basically the same as boilers and all that and the heat exchangers, it's just that you got this additional upfront cost to do the drilling that the other aspect doesn't have. It really wasn't taken as a vote, but kind of that meeting, Jay was just kind of like, so this is what it cost. I was just kind of like okay, we're not gonna do it, but it wasn't anything real solid. So tonight I asked, I'm like, well, that wasn't really ever voted on by the board. I was for like, was that just decided by you? Because if you put something like that out there, you might get some community participation. Which it sounded like he's like, we could put that out there as a vote. Do you guys feel strongly about this at all? I mean, looking at what was done in these documents in terms of energy use, because you were asking, Jenny here was asking me about the solar on the roof. But when you look at it, the 110 kilowatt DC array on the roof is going to produce quite a bit of electricity for this building. I mean, it was going to produce, the geothermal system uses a lot of electricity, and based upon their estimations, it would power the entire geothermal system. Like there wouldn't even be any draw. I just don't know like what you guys want to do. That's why I put it in there.
Yeah.
And also like with the Focus on Energy bundles is there are three bundles per each system. And basically looking at it, if you looked at the document going through it, it was like each one had a different upfront cost because as you went through, it looked like the obvious one was you got more insulation. As the bundles increased in price, you would get more insulation and that drove up the cost. You would get, it looked like a slightly, more efficient boiler system, like heating system inside the building for an increased cost in the bundle. And as the bundle went up, as you would pay more for these various installed components, Focus on Energy would give you a larger rebate because you're spending more on them. And so I was asking him what bundle had been selected, and he kind of said that he thought that they told us what bundle we get, and I was like, I think you decide what bundle you get, because it says, do you want bundle 1, 2, or 3? And then you have to tell the architect, this is what we want, this is how much insulation, these are the boilers. And then basically once they put it all in, there's documents that have to be exchanged between Focus on Energy, and eventually they come out and like walk through and make sure you install all that stuff, and then you get your rebate.
Yeah.
Right? I mean, am
I
I
mean,
missing anything?
I would say so really there's two options. There's like the gas RTU boiler option and the geothermal.
Right.
And I think kind of what the core planning group was thinking and kind of what was discussed was that because we're gonna with the solar, there'll be so much energy offset, that it seems like we could still go with the gas RTU boiler system. So because that $450,000 was a huge Like,
It's a lot.
it's a big expense, and there's a lot of concern about what bids are gonna come in at. And I think it's honestly probably one of the easier items to be like, well, we don't need that.
Well, right.
But I mean, if people wanted it on an agenda and like would want the village board to vote on it, I think that's perfectly fine. We can put that on the agenda.
Right, and that's sort of what I'm asking you guys tonight.
Yeah.
It's sort of.
So-
Well, you know, this decision hasn't gone to the board, so it's basically the core planning group is making this decision. And my concern was that I know I'd spoken with some people in the community, I'd sort of incidentally spoken to them, they're like, oh, they put in geothermal in there, and I'm like,
Okay.
I don't, you know, like just being out
Yeah.
and about.
That's completely fair. Yeah.
And, you know, I was just sort of like, wow, I just sort of felt like we're taking away these people's voice to come to a meeting to express their desire for a geothermal system if the core planning group is just
Mhm.
making a decision that it's not gonna happen.
That's, yeah.
Which, you know,
And am I hearing that there was one criteria and that was $400,000 more? And then, okay, that's all we need to hear. We're not doing it. I don't
but
hear.
there's a whole report, and Bold did have a presentation that we did go through at the board.
yeah, that, I actually put that.
Which was in there, yeah.
Yeah, it's in the packet, if you go down. It's like right here, it's on page 4, where they do the analysis.
I'm just looking at page 11 where it shows a payback of 10 years. That seems like nothing to me.
Yeah,
Mhm.
I think the issue I have just as a community member is, yes, I understand the upfront costs, but. I'm willing to use my tax money for that, knowing that. Any sort of retrofit is gonna cost you 5 times more.
Right, okay, this is where this page 11 is. Incorrect. This is a strange thing. This page 11 one talks about annual savings and simple payback with that when the green is in the geothermal. Yeah, and you go down and you look, you see a 10-year payback. These numbers do not include the 450,000 additional dollars. I don't know why this second report didn't have that in there. Is the best that I could figure out. It was very misleading, this document, because you see these things, and I was like, wow, yeah, the payback is 11. They're talking about the payback of the first, and you see how it says incremental first cost, and it says 144, 156, and 174 for good, better, best for geothermal. Onto that first incremental cost, add 450. That wasn't included in that, on that page 11. Do you see what I'm looking at, Carly?
No, because I can't find it on here. What page is it in the packet? Where is it in the packet?
What he was
It's,
talking about-
page 11 of the agenda,
yeah,
the full agenda tonight.
Okay.
it's basically,
Just Michael, to answer your question, which I think is like, how hard do we want to push it? My response is, I think that we should, at the very least, get village board members on record saying, no, we don't want to pay for it.
Right.
And give community members an opportunity to come in and give public comment. If we can chunk this out and make this something that folks can weigh in on, at least village board members need to hear support for, or maybe against it, but yeah, it sounds like we need to have some sunshine on that decision.
right, absolutely, and that's also where, like, with what bundle would we go with? I mean, like, I would be fine going with the best bundle if we're gonna go with just regular boilers, but I'm willing to spend $15,000 up front if it means we're getting in, you know, a ton of insulation that's gonna be in there for 50 years.
Right.
Better insulated, spend $25,000 up front, it's gonna last, you know, I mean, $25,000 on an $8 million building for more insulation, I mean, you're right, I mean, you was, so, and that's where Jay was just like, I think they tell us, I'm like, no, I think we tell them, like, how.
Yeah.
So.
I mean, we honestly have not spent a lot of time on this, like in our core planning group meetings. Like it was kind of more so like, you know, geothermal is going to cost this much more, you know, you'll get this with this, kind of like
Well, see what,
moving forward with the RTU boiler option. I mean, granted, there hasn't been an official vote at the village board, and it sounds like we want one. But I'm wondering if it would be helpful to have a representative from Focus on Energy or someone from Wold to kind of interpret some of this stuff
Well, all this.
for
was
people.
done- yeah, all this was done by Focus on Energy.
So we can have Joe kind of give
Yeah.
a little blurb.
But you're telling me that what I'm reading here is wrong.
Well.
Is that right? I mean, it's hard for me, and I'm not an energy engineer at all. I mean, it's hard to interpret this. This is like information overload. I think you need to have somebody come in and talk about, here's what it costs, here's what the payback is.
And I think that
Um,
I don't even think our core planning group is necessarily clear on all of this. So that's where I'm thinking like
Right.
we need someone to break this down for everyone to simplify it. Like these are your options. Village board, select one.
Right.
Carly, who could do that for us the best, do you think, of the people that you've worked with, or who would be willing to?
I think Joe Kodowitz, I think is his name. He's from Focus on Energy. And I think, and he was a part of those conversations with Wold, as they were kind of developing, working together to see what the options could be. So he was a part of the process and he's kind of our Focus on Energy rep, for the village. So I'm thinking he might be the person.
Yeah.
Would he be willing to do that sort of offline and send us sort of a executive summary,
Yeah.
or prepare one
Yeah. And I'm
for,
also thinking like
and not just us, obviously for the
Yeah.
board.
our June meeting is really long already.
Mhm.
So I don't know. We might want to wait, but at the same time, because we also have an item that will be like to increase the design fees for Wold. So it's kind of like you don't want to do too many decisions about the building probably on this, or like on one agenda. Um, but I know that we also want to have.
If it gets, well, I mean, inside the design documents for the building, you want to start to incorporating your insulation and things like that. You don't want to wait on those things. I mean, unless they can just be added like real quickly, you just change a number like this.
Well, I think they're also waiting on kind of going forward with some of these construction documents until they get their design fee that they're asking for, their increased design fee. So they're kind of like in a weird holding pattern until the village board votes on that. So it's just kind of an awkward period, but maybe I can probably talk to Joe and just see if he can kind of maybe put a few slides together or, I can talk to him on the phone or something and
Right.
maybe we can come up with a little something for an upcoming meeting.
Right. See, yeah, I mean, like, see, like what you're saying, like what you were looking at was incorrect, and that's kind of sort of how I thought, because they did this analysis, which I got after the first 4 pages at the top are what came to the village board, and on there is where it says geothermal must have estimated additional cost of $450,000 up front. And then when I got that second packet, it didn't have any of that in there, and I was like, oh, they figured out that the drilling fees weren't in there.
Do you think we could have this be sort of a number one item? Like if you think Joe would be amenable and could get us something by next month's sustainability committee. I know we've got an agenda item already. I mean, there's an awful lot of stuff that has now sort of come onto our plates that is all important to be digested. And I feel like we don't have a lot of accurate or full information. I mean, well, I should take that back. There's almost too much information. We need a little bit of interpretation on these documents that they're sending.
Yes, I can get that for sure.
Would people feel like that would be a worthwhile thing for us? Because we need to get kind of on the same page if we're going to recommend, the village or the core planning group or whoever the mysterious folks are behind us.
Right, we need to know what we're talking about, so.
Sure. Right.
But if you want geothermal or not, like that decision needs to be made yesterday.
Right.
Yeah.
See,
Before
that's
we
what I'm
have more
saying.
information.
But we don't know what we're recommending now. I mean, I have limits too to what I would, be willing to bite off and stuff too. But, like Jenny said, I'm as a citizen, I'd be willing to make some sacrifices to make it happen for the greater good.
Because it
if I
doesn't,
knew what those were, but I don't think we know.
only gonna go up, it just won't happen in the future.
Right, it won't, it won't at all. Okay,
So
And
I don't think we can do much more on it tonight. And I mean, I think we're kind of hitting our end point here. At least I am. Could we propose bringing those, at least those couple items?
maybe he brings it to the village board, and Joe does something, it doesn't come back here, and that summary goes to the board, if that has to be done at the June meeting. Yeah, I don't know, just spitballing here, you know?
Yeah,
I mean.
yeah. If so, Michael, you're a little bit quiet on my end, but what I think I heard you say was like, if there's not enough time for it to come back to our committee, at least making sure that the village board as a whole has all of the information that they need in a digestible format so that they at least can go on record with a vote.
Right. And
Yeah.
the public can
Yeah, I
see.
support that.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know, just.
yeah, I really don't know how this will fit into our agenda for this month.
Yeah,
Because having just one meeting a month with the amount of stuff we have going on is just starting to be a little bit much, but I can I'll talk to Joe, I'll talk to Matt Bickle, who's our our project manager for the building. I can see like, hey, is it too late to have this vote? What would you recommend we put in front of them? But so what I'm hearing though is that we want a vote on whether or not we want something, the village board on the record stating whether or not they support geothermal.
yeah.
Yep.
I think it'd be-
Yep.
Yep.
And-
Okay.
And even if possible, the different ones, so that we decided that. I mean, Jay seemed like they tell you, reading what I read,
Yeah.
you tell them.
I think they're under the assumption that we're not going with geothermal, so I think but I still don't think a bundle has been selected. I think just that side of the coin has kind of been what's been recommended to the architect.
I believe so after the village board meeting,
Yeah.
it wasn't really a full lot of like, everyone was like, yay, geothermal, I was like, oh, yeah, we're
Yeah.
not spending it. And it
Yeah,
was
but I
kind of-
don't know that, like you said, one of those particular bundles has been selected. So I'll work with them. We'll figure out if I can get some more
Yeah, just-
digestible information on what those three options entail.
And just even more on the bundles, because if the geothermal doesn't happen, as I said. Let's go with the more insulation, et cetera, plan.
Yeah.
for the
Never makes
building.
it more efficient.
Right, exactly, like that's what I'm like, we can't get that, then let's not go with the. The worst insulated building in the world, or whatever, I mean, that not
Right.
good either.
Yeah.
And so, and thinking about it, and this might actually turn into the compromise system of if. The geothermal doesn't happen with the 450,000 of additional costs. What I found really weird here in this document is that they listed the solar installation cost at $25,000. Did you see that?
Yeah, I did.
That's not right at all. The 110 kilowatt DC system is probably gonna cost like 100.
I think you also have Focus on Energy versus Volt, who does not do renewable energy stuff. Like they're an architect.
So that was one who guessed
Yes.
that. $25,000 is what I got an estimate to put 10
on your house.
1,000 watts on the library, and this was like in 2018 when I was trying to get, I mean. I got 10,000, I mean, it was $10,000 to put a size, the system was 11 times smaller, and I was on
Right.
the library.
Yeah.
This
So
system's-
I'll do some digging back into that, and I mean, Joel will be our expert on that.
Right,
So-
but what I'm
Yep.
saying is that if we sacrifice the geothermal, but we get a $150,000 solar system, that might be the win. I mean, and better insulation, that's basically what I'm saying.
Sure.
Like,
Okay.
But yep, I'll work on that. Is there anything else we want to accomplish tonight, Michael?
No, I just really wanted that to get spoken about. I don't know if you, Matt, if you look at the packet, because we had that Focus on Energy grant, we had the Focus on Energy come around and an energy audit, and they walked through like the water treatment plant and stuff, that was in that packet, I don't know if you were aware that they'd done that or not, if you had.
I haven't had a chance to look at it yet.
Okay, but that's in there, and so they walked through and it was just stuff like, oh, you got a motor that's running all the time, and if if it goes out and you wanna spend a little bit more, you put some sensors in there and it doesn't run all the time, basically is. Kind of like what the idea was, so we floated it to Jerry, and Jerry was like, yeah, I'm not touching any of this till it breaks, and by then I'm out of here, so that was kind of.
Sounds about right.
But I wanted you to be aware that that energy audit was done. But a bunch of it was like focused on the water treatment.
Yeah.
Okay.
I'll look into it.
All right, yeah, we good?
We're good. I motion
We're
to
good.
adjourn.
Pete will second that motion.
Great. We're adjourned. Thanks,
Yeah,
everybody.
let's vote.
Thanks, everyone.
Oh,
Wait,
aye.
Oh, sorry.
Hi.
Aye.
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 We are adjourned.
Thanks, everybody.
Sorry, for my last meeting, I wanted to end it early.
Bye.
Bye.
Thanks, Carly. Bye-bye.
That would have been 45 minutes ago.